Okay, so here we are live once again. Let me make sure that we come up on the camera over here. We got a lot of things to discuss today. In addition to this action figure that I'm going to open up, today we're going to open up Black Canary. Going to be a lot of fun. TMNT N4W is here and says, yo, right back at you. Good to see you. It is June 30th. It's the last day of June. It's already the last day of June. How crazy is that? I got up this morning and I was scrolling through my Facebook, and I'd seen where a friend of mine had made a post saying that it was the last day of Pride Month. And a lot of things hit me at once when he said that. One being, oh my God, it's already the end of June. Which is the main thing, because like June just went right past me like that. Just zoomed on past. And crazy for me. And then I thought to myself, I wanted to open up a figure today, but I wasn't sure what figure I was going to open up. And then I thought, hey, it's the last day of Pride Month. I haven't done anything for Pride Month. I usually like to acknowledge, some kind of, something going on that month, holiday, whatever, whenever I can. Haven't done anything for Pride Month this year. So I started to think to myself, of all the action figures that I have to open up, do I have any gay characters? Are there any, maybe not even a gay character, but like a character that like maybe has a strong gay fan following, that kind of thing? And I got nothing, folks. I think Black Canary is probably the closest thing I can get to it, because sometimes they write her to be like a little bisexual, like at least in a performative sort of way, And I know a lot of gay dudes who like Black Canary, so I mean, well, happy Pride Month, I guess. Sorry, folks, that's the best I'm going to be able to do this year. Like I said, June just kind of snuck past me. Maybe next year when it comes around to June, I'll have a gay character to open up for you for Pride Month. How about that? But this year it didn't happen, unfortunately. And maybe the gods will be on my side next time as far as having you guys a Pride Month figure. Sorry about that. So since I didn't have anything specific to open up today, I decided to go ahead and open up Black Canary. And the Supergirl movie came out and it bombed horribly. Like I was talking about last episode when we talked about Supergirl. I don't think was it actually the last episode. No, it wasn't the last episode. It was, I think, episode before last. But recently, when I talked about Supergirl, I talked about how I wasn't really that excited about that movie, and I guess a lot of people weren't really excited about that movie because a lot of people stayed away from that movie in droves. And before anybody comes in and says, well, it was because of misogyny, it was not because of misogyny, because 59% of the tickets sold to Supergirl were sold to men. More men went to see that movie than women. So I guess you need to ask yourself why the women are staying away from Supergirl. And I got a theory about that, and I touched on it in the last episode that I talked about Supergirl. Not the last, you know what I mean. When we talked about Supergirl last, I touched upon this, and that's that traditionally the character of Supergirl is supposed to be sweet and wholesome and, admires her cousin. And this version of Supergirl was not that. I think most people that might have potentially gone to see a Supergirl movie were probably turned off when you made her a drunkard. I think that was a bad call. And I continue to say that James Gunn was the wrong person for the job. James Gunn should not have been placed in charge of DC. He does not have the right mindset to be the proper custodian of these characters. And he needs to go. I think this movie proves that, right? Like they're saying this movie's probably going to lose $100 million for the studio. And Superman itself wasn't like that big of a hit. I don't know why they thought Supergirl was going to do so well when Superman didn't even do that hot. Superman couldn't even sell more tickets than the Henry Cavill Superman movie sold in 2013. How do you expect this one's if Superman like couldn't do better than Man of Steel, what makes you think people are going to show up to see this Supergirl movie? Like, if they didn't go to watch the Superman movie, they're not going to go to watch the Supergirl movie. I mean, come on. Seriously? They probably should have waited on doing a Supergirl movie until they saw how well Superman did. And then if they just really liked this version of Supergirl, they could have maybe put her into the sequel to Superman or something else like that. I don't know. It's just a lot of bad decisions going on there. So yeah, that was like, I'm not exactly trying to celebrate the fact that Supergirl failed, but I am gonna say I told you so. I'm gonna be that guy right now. I told you that movie was not going to do well. Like it's just not what people want from that character, if we're being real about it. I mean, that's my post-mortem on Supergirl, and why I think that movie did not do as well as it should have. And you know what? I'm gonna say, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They need to bring back Zack Snyder is what they need to do. They need to bring back Zack Snyder. At the very least, this is what they need to do. This is the smartest thing I think that they could do. This is what I would do if I was in charge of DC. Is I would bring back Zack Snyder. I would go to Zack and I would be like, hey, how many movies do you think you need to wrap up your saga? Could you do it in just one big movie? Would you need like 2 or 3 movies to do it with? Do you need like a Justice League 2 and a Justice League 3? Maybe one more Superman. Maybe Ben Affleck can do his Batman movie. But I kind of feel like we need to give your story a proper conclusion is the thing. I don't need to see Zack Snyder movies forever in DC. It doesn't need to just be Zack Snyder till the end of time. I realize they're going to reboot it at some point, but you need to give the Snyder fans, I'm one of them, you need to give us closure before you move on to something else. Why am I, even if it looked good to me, and God knows Superman did not look good. The 2025 Superman did not look good to me. But even if it did, why am I supposed to get invested in an all-new Superman story when you can't even finish the Superman story I'm already invested in? So it seems to me like the smartest thing to do is give the Snyder fans their closure. Give them their movie that truly wraps up the story, gives them a proper conclusion that they're satisfied with. And then, you don't have people to ask you to bring or restore the Snyderverse or sell the Snyderverse to Netflix or whatever, because you know what, they already got their complete story. They don't need any more. You don't see people begging for more Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies because it had a proper conclusion. You don't see people asking for Back to the Future 4 because Back to the Future 3 was a proper conclusion. You give the Snyder fans their proper conclusion, and they'll shut up. We will all shut up. I promise you. You give us a proper conclusion, and we'll shut up about it. And then you can do whatever you want to with. You can do more James Gunn poop joke Superman movies. I don't really care. That's fine. Do as many of them as you want, but give us the closure that we need for that Zack Snyder one. And who knows, maybe I'll be along for the next reboot that's not done by a sex pest. Anyway, let's go ahead and open up this action figure. So here's the artwork on the back. It's a pretty nice piece of artwork. This is, I think, the Rebirth Black Canary costume. It's kind of hard for me to keep track of all these, but I think this was the costume she had for Rebirth. I liked it pretty well. It brought back a lot of the classic Black Canary elements, but it is different in a lot of ways. It's got its own sort of quirks to it. We're about to open it up, but I did want to look at the artwork on the back first. And it says on there, Black Canary, DC Rebirth, if I'd read it. And it is a Mcfarlane Collector Edition. And you know what that means? Right, that means it's overpriced. All right, so let's go ahead and open her up. Get her out of the package. Out of the package. Jack package. There we go. There she is. And she's got some extra faces. She's got some extra hands. She's got amazing fishnets. So let's go ahead and we'll set that aside for now, because I still have to get out the trading card and the figure stand. We can't forget about the trading card and the figure stand, because I have done it before. We don't want to do it again. We want to make sure that we cover everything in this figure. And, it wouldn't be so bad if I forgot to talk about the figure stand because, it's the same figure. We've seen this figure stand before. But it would be a tragedy if I didn't read the trading card, wouldn't it? You want to hear me to read the trading card. Everybody loves to hear me read the trading card. TMNT, if you're still in the chat, I was actually on Facebook earlier in one of the Facebook Ninja Turtle groups that I'm in. Somebody asked, what's your favorite Leonardo action figure? And my favorite Leonardo figure is the same as, the other four boys. I like the NECA Mirage figures. Did I actually respond to that in the Facebook? I don't think I did. I think I must have missed it. I was going to respond to it though. But yeah. So there's the trading card. I'm sorry. There's the figure stand out of the package. It's a black figure stand with a silver DC logo on it. The only good thing that James Gunn has done since. At least it didn't. At least changing this logo didn't lose us $100 million, or at least as far as I know. Supergirl's going to lose $100 million. Supergirl opened lower than Morbius. Morbius. Let that sink in for a second. You know how everybody was making fun of how poorly Morbius did? Yeah, Supergirl did not do as well as Morbius. And before anybody and you can't even use the excuse of COVID. You can't even be well, COVID. No, Morbius came out after COVID, folks. All right, so here we got that same piece of artwork from the back of the package. I'm going to try to shut up about Supergirl now. There's what the back of the card looks like. And it reads, Black Canary, DC Rebirth, data file, real name, Dinah Drake Lance. Black Canary has been many things: Black Ops agent, fugitive, superhero, and rock star. She is trained with some of the best martial artists in the world, and her Canary cry, they put the quotation marks in there, not me, gives her an edge in combat. She was a key member of Team 7 and later founded the Birds of Prey, fighting alongside Batgirl, and she's also been a member of the Justice League of America. So we're gonna retcon her into some Wildstorm team and mention that before we mentioned like her being in the Justice League. Okay. Black Canary was in Black Ops. That's a new one for me. I don't know if that's a New 52 thing or if it's a Rebirth thing, but it's something that was in a comic book that I never read. So learn something new every day, I guess. Yeah, when you haven't really read DC Comics regularly since God, what was it, like 2015? I think was when they did Rebirth. I came back. I dipped out at New 52 because New 52 was not doing it for me, and I dipped back in with Rebirth. I'm like, hey, I'm back, and I was really enjoying Superman comics at the time. I thought that the Dan Jurgens run, I think he was doing Superman, and Peter Tomasi was doing action, and Lee Weeks was drawing Superman, and the artwork was gorgeous. The best Superman art that I've seen since Kurt Swan, and that's some high praise because there's been some good artists between then and now, but Lee Weeks is my favorite modern Superman artist, by which I mean, like, since, I don't know, John Byrne would be the best since Kurt Swan. But, still, like some of the best Superman artwork that I've seen in decades. And the stories were on point. And then they brought in Brian Michael Bendis. And then I dipped out again, and I haven't been back since. And comic books are just too expensive for me these days. And I could probably just sail the high seas and read the comic books that way. And I do sometimes. But I've lost interest in modern comic books. My fingers are still burning from the last time, as Mike Nesmith says. So, get these out of here. These extra hands. She's got 2 extra face plates and 2 extra sets of hands. And I still think this figure is overpriced. I'm going to get into it. And there are things that I wish they had done differently with this figure. And if you've been looking at this figure, I'm sure you know what those are. And we are going to get deep into that. But you know what? I've been asking for a Black Canary figure from Mcfarlane for the longest time. Readers, viewers of this channel, friends of this channel, you've seen me talking about it. And for my sins, I now have one. So, go ahead and get her out of the package. And this is a figure that, like, I don't think would be smart to leave in the package because she's got those rubber tabs over this vinyl coat. And that's going to cause some problems chemically, I think. We'll go ahead and get her out. And she's got 3 different faces. And I don't think that this is going to be the one that I leave on here because she's got this little bit of a smirk. Like, they try to give her this little bit of a smirk. And there's something about it that just, it's not sitting right with me. And here's something unfortunate. Like I said, she's got extra faces, but look at this. The seam is kind of visible here at the side. And they could have very easily just had this hair come over, and I could maybe glue it down and fix it so that, but the seam really, to me, that shouldn't be visible. That's kind of sloppy there. I'm gonna be charitable and assume that it wasn't designed that way, and this is just how it got put together at the factory. And maybe, like I said, maybe I can fix it, but I'm not gonna try to do too much with it right now because I don't want to pull her apart and have her not be able to go back together. So I took her head off because I want to take off her jacket. And the jacket does seem to be kind of like this thick vinyl. But again, I'm going to pull this hand off because I think it'll make it easier to get this jacket off. I want to take the jacket off because I want to talk about the articulation, of course. And then she's got looks like a separate choker piece. And it looks like the straps for her corset at the top there are just kind of painted on, and a little bit of lacing there. Like I said, I kind of like this design. It's not my favorite Black Canary design. It's not the classic Black Canary design, but it's a pretty good one. And it has like all the elements that I like of the classic version with the jacket and the fishnets, and they managed to get some blue. And she's got a blue corset, which I think the original Black Canary costume is supposed to be all black. I think that was the intention as far as how she was drawn in the Golden Age comics. But as we've discussed many times on this channel before, you can have a character that starts out in comics wearing a black costume, but eventually that black shading is going to start to get more and more minimal, and the blue coloring is going to start to take up more and more of it. And then eventually you're going to wind up with a character that looks like this, where he's just wearing a blue outfit, where originally he was supposed to be wearing a black outfit. That's how you get a blue Batman, folks. That's how that happens. So Black Canary was no exception. So she had like a black sleeveless bodysuit, like a leotard, I guess you'd call it, and then fishnet stockings, and then black boots and a black jacket. And her legs were colored blue. And I don't know if she was supposed to be wearing blue hose along with the blue fishnet stockings, or that was just supposed to be something that, like, you know, was for the censorship of the time. They didn't want her to look like she was showing too much skin. But this costume kind of follows that silhouette. Now it does, like I said, replace the bodysuit with this blue corset, right? Probably to keep some blue on the costume, because she just has fishnet stockings with no blue tights or blue hose at all. And one thing that's interesting about this Black Canary design is, rather than having ordinary superhero trunks like you would expect, they're kind of like, you know, little Daisy Duke shorts, you know, like little leather type shorts they got pockets, and they got a fly, and she's got a belt and all this other stuff. So that's an interesting thing to do. I'm not sure why they did that, but, you know, I don't think it's bad necessarily. It's just, you know, it's just something that's different. So I'm just observing that it's something that's different. I'm not criticizing, because, you know, I don't mind it. It's fine. I do think it's interesting. And she's got the choker, like the again, like Black Canary traditionally has. And this is a separate piece. This can be removed, but I'm not going to take it off because I don't want to lose it. But it can slide off, and it looks like it's just a simple choker with a little plain round silver clasp. A lot of the times Black Canary's choker will actually have like a bird motif to it, which I like that because, like, you know, it's good to give her a bird motif, you know, since her name is Black Canary. And then rather than the plain boots, the original one, actually they weren't really plain. They were more like pirate boots. They had a little flap on them. But this one's more like laced up kind of boots. They're kind of dominatrixy. Of course, I'm not going to complain about that. So let's have a look at this jacket. And I've said before, I'm not really a big fan of the pleather on these figures because it does tend to dry rot and chip over the years, especially if you're not able to store it properly. And I have had figures that I wasn't able to store properly, and they would get ruined, absolutely ruined. So ruined that I'm going to have to drop the I and not say ruined. I'm going to say ruined. Al Davis is here and says, afternoon, Alan. Everyone in the chat, hello. Hello to you, Al Davis. So one thing that I do like about it is she does have a Black Canary logo that's embossed on the back, and that's pretty cool. So overall, I like the rebirth design for her costume. I do feel like while it is different from the original Black Canary costume, at least it still manages to keep the flavor of it and a lot of the elements that I actually like about that costume. So I'm going to pop this head back on now. If I can pop this head back on. It seems like it's being a little stubborn. And as you can see, it's got like a tiny little ball at the end to fit into the socket. So that's a good thing. But look how long and spindly that post is. And I'm worried that like I might bend the post before I actually manage to pop her head back in. But no, I did manage to pop her head back in. So there she is again with her head, with this face that I don't particularly care for. There's just something a little off about it. I don't know what it is. I don't really particularly care for it. But she does have a couple of other faces. So we've got some other options here. So let's see if I like one of these faces better. And here's her creepy fembot look. So we got to have that, don't we? And we'll get this first of our two alternate faces on here. And you want to fit it up underneath her bangs. They're not like Betty Page bangs, but you know what I mean. The hair at her forehead. And there is her Canary cry. And I like this face better, but I don't like to have yelling faces for like the default faces. And, you know, for Black Canary, she's one that you kind of want to have with a yelling face so you can get that Canary cry going. So there's that. So, and I figure a lot of people would actually want to have that as their default face for their Black Canary figure. But you know me, I prefer to have a more neutral facial expression. So we're gonna put that on here. One thing that I'm noticing about these faces as I'm taking them off and putting them on is she has very dark black eyebrows, and I appreciate that. I think that is a very good thing. I'll explain more in just a moment. But first, I want to get this last face on here. And when I say last face, I do mean last face because I believe this is the one that I want to keep on there. That is a nice looking face. She looks kind of like Jennifer Connelly a little bit, I think. And can you ask for a better looking woman than Jennifer Connelly? I don't think so. I think like if somebody said to me that Jennifer Connelly is the most beautiful woman who ever lived, I would not argue with them. I would be hard pressed to argue with them. She'd probably fit into my list of most beautiful women who ever lived. You know, there's a lot of good contenders there. But yeah, like that's actually, I think she's a good model for Black Canary. Now I know a lot of people would be like, well, isn't Black Canary a blonde and Jennifer Connelly's a brunette? That's what I'm getting to. But remember, in the original comic book, Black Canary is not blonde. She's wearing a wig. Dinah Drake Lance is actually a brunette who wore a wig in the earliest comic books. Now, eventually, they did start having Dinah simply bleach her hair, so she legitimately has blonde hair now. But originally, like I said, she was supposed to be wearing a wig. It was a disguise. So there you go. And that's why I like I like these very dark black eyebrows. And you know, I've mentioned before, I like a girl with some strong eyebrows. So this face is perfect. This face is exactly what I want from my Black Canary. So we have one face that I don't particularly care for, and we have another face that's good, but like I said, I'm the type who prefers a more neutral facial expression on my figures. So and then the one that actually is the neutral facial expression is the best one. And I'm going to take this gripping hand off of her. I'm going to say Black Canary is one that, like, I'm going to want to have the fist hands on. Oh man, I should have got the drifter motorcycle. I just realized that. Okay. So it's a good thing you got these gripping hands, because we would want to put her on the drifter motorcycle, wouldn't we? Black Canary often rides a motorcycle. I'll try to get some shots of her on the motorcycle and have them in the community posts. And of course, they'll be on my Instagram and Facebook when I get that taken care of. But I kind of feel like Black Canary is one that, like, other than putting on a motorcycle, the solid fist hands work really well for her, since she's going to be punching a lot of people in the face. How about that? So let's go ahead and talk about her articulation. Now, Black Canary is not going to be able to look up very far because she's got that long hair, and that's about as far as she can look down as well. She can kind of tilt her head quizzically from side to side and rotate the head all the way around. But, you know, of course, the hair is going to bump into her shoulders a little bit, but not as bad as you might think, at least if you have the jacket off, which, of course, I do, because I want to show the articulation at its most optimal. And that is why she's not wearing the jacket right now. But we'll get one more shot of her with the jacket before this episode is through. So if you came in late, you will see her with the jacket. Al Davis says, would look awesome on the multi-purpose drifter bike. Yup. Indeed. That's why I buy those when I can find them for cheap. But yeah, she was always a biker. So I am thinking that this figure, and I might be mistaken, I'm thinking this figure uses parts that were previously used on Power Girl, and I believe originally used on Wonder Woman. And it looks like the arms are the same, and the thighs are the same. And while I don't have her over here to compare, I bet if I compared her with Golden Age Wonder Woman, I bet this bodice is the same. I bet the torso is the same as Golden Age Wonder Woman, but I don't have her over here to compare. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and make an educated guess. And I'm gonna say I'm about 90% certain this is the same torso as Golden Age Wonder Woman, by the way. So anyway, let's get back to talking about this figure. So her arms raise up to the sides about that far, and she does have a bicep swivel, even though it's very tight. But I can get it to move around. And she's got the cool Mcfarlane butterfly joint there, so we can get some good wiggle there. And the arms, of course, rotate all the way around the shoulders. Got double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows. She's got the cool Mcfarlane wrist articulation, which move all over the place. So you can do whatever you want to with that. She does not have a mid-torso joint, again, like the Golden Age Wonder Woman figure, and like Power Girl. Power Girl also lacked a mid-torso joint, although I can think of a very good place that I would put a mid-torso joint if I was, you know, if I'm going to armchair quarterback this figure. I think you know what place I'm talking about. I don't have to say it, do I? I don't have to say it. You're smart enough to figure this out on your own, right? Anyway, Black Canary rotates all around at the waist, and she can move at the waist side to side about that far, backwards and forwards about that far. Even without having the mid-torso articulation, you can still get some good poses out of her just because of that. And, man, this girl got a booty on her. As well she should. So she's got them Daisy Dukes, and she's got these, like I said, these are amazing fishnets, as they called them in the DC Universe Classics line, where she actually has these elastic fishnets. And, you know, I gotta say from personal experience, they're gonna get stretched out, and they're gonna hang kind of loose on her eventually. So enjoy them while you can, folks. Eventually, they're not gonna last forever. It's just the nature of the beast. It's sad, but it's true. So Black Canary can kick up about that far, and Jesus Christ, she's split. So I guess we know how far those tights go up now, don't we? Those fishnets. This is an actual seam in the plastic, so they've got her fishnet sealed in like that. So you can see just like a little bit of her booty sticking out. So, oh my, does that go all the way around, or does that pull up? Yeah, I believe that goes all the way around. So you want to be careful with how you pose her, because if you pose her like too much, it's going to look like she tore her fishnets. Just FYI, just so you know that that's there, because I didn't know that was there, and that was a surprise. So now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Black Canary can do the splits no problem, and she can kick up about that far, which is a good range of motion. You want Black Canary to be able to kick some motherfucker right in the head, don't you? She's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. And there's a little bit of a wobble where the thigh meets the hip, so that's good. And then she's got the cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation, where the ankle rotates all the way around, where the ankle meets the shin. The ankle rotates all the way around, where the ankle meets the foot, but I'm having a hard time with it. Let's try the other one. It might be kind of stuck. I think they're both kind of stuck. And then her foot can point down about that far, and her foot can point up about that far. I guess Mcfarlane didn't feel like showing off because she has no toe articulation. So, which is not a very common thing with Mcfarlane figures, but this one does not have toe articulation. And looking back at, I thought I remembered correctly. Power Girl doesn't have toe articulation. So I guess they're in the same club as far as that goes. Being, curvy blonde women don't have toe articulation. So anyway, let's go ahead and put the jacket back onto her, since I've been through all that. And I'm going to take her head off because I just think it'd be easier to get the jacket on that way. And I did already pop the fist hands onto her, so it should be easier to just get the jacket on than it was with that gripping hand. La-di-da-di-da. Get that onto her. And then we can pop the head back on. And I feel like I'm tempting fate by popping this head on and off so much, but, whatever. It is what it is. Sacrifices that I make for this show. All right, let's see if we can get this head on there. There we go. Oh, nope, not quite. Thought I had it. I thought I heard it pop, but I guess it was just that post shifting. There we go. Yep, we got it on her this time. And so there she is with the jacket. And since I'm sure some people out here would want to see it, now that I've got the jacket on her and I've got the two fist hands on her, now we can do the Canary cry face again and get like the best possible Canary cry pose that we can get out of it. Yeah, I think they probably should have made the seam for this face a little deeper on the head, and then it would have been a little better hidden over here at the side. As it is, I'm going to try to kind of glue her hair down there, and I think that should help some. But okay, so we got both the fist hands on, and we've got the screaming face, and this sleeve, it's kind of a little too long, just a little too long. And her fist kind of disappears into it. So I'm going to kind of try to angle her fist in such a way where it bunches up the sleeve, and that way it'll make sure. Oh yeah, I meant to read that earlier. I saw where Al Davis posted it. That might be strategic for her, like a distraction. Hey, this whole costume's a distraction, man. Like in my version that when I was doing. I did a little project where I decided I was going to reboot the DC characters because I didn't think New 52 did a very good job of it. So I decided to do my own reboot of the DC characters. And I'd modeled Black Canary a little bit off of Debbie Harry because I couldn't think of anybody that could have been a better Black Canary than Debbie Harry. She had exactly the right look that I wanted. So I gave my Black Canary a little bit more of a punk rock look to her, where she had torn fishnets and things like that. And I was leaning very heavily into the original concept of Black Canary, which was I think kind of a little at least influenced by the Green Hornet, where she was pretending to be a criminal. So yeah, that was my version of Black Canary. This kind of punk rock Debbie Harry looking character, and by day she's just like this unassuming florist, and by night she's riding around a motorcycle and a leather corset and fishnets and beating the hell out of people. But there's a good Canary cry pose for you, for those of you who might want that. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would want to have her posed on the shelf doing her Canary cry, and you can get a really good pose of that out of there. But for me personally, like I said, I am more of a fan of the neutral facial expressions. So there's been a lot of criticisms of this figure, and I think a lot of those criticisms are fair. Like I said, I wasn't particularly impressed by the face, that the smirking face. It just didn't work. I'm not sure why it's not working for me, but it's not really working for me. I can't quite put my finger on it. And I really like the yelling face, but like I said, it's not something that I'm going to want to leave as her default display face. But the neutral face, I think, is just great. I think they did a really good job with that. I would have preferred, even though I don't dislike the Rebirth costume, I would have preferred to have had the classic Black Canary costume, me personally, especially since this is the only Black Canary costume that Mcfarlane is, or the only Black Canary figure that Mcfarlane is likely to make. Now, that having been said, there is a Platinum Edition version of this figure that is based on the Justice League Unlimited design of Black Canary, and that's a good one too. But she's got, I think, just kind of plain gray legs and does not have the fishnet stockings. So if you really wanted to have fishnet stockings, this is your only option. And I guess you could buy the figures and mix and match the legs maybe, but it is what it is. Al Davis says Sarah Michelle Gellar might have been good during the Buffy era, series 4-ish. I could see that. She would have been fine. And she's another one of those girls that's got those dark eyebrows like I'm talking about. Like I like. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think that Sarah Michelle Gellar is a natural blonde, but she's like a much darker blonde, like kind of a chestnut kind of blonde. I guess I don't know what the proper term for that is, but she's blonde. Like I think she sometimes has more highlights than other times, but I think she's like naturally a darker blonde. Some people like judge blonde more like by the tone of the hair. But I kind of judge blonde more like by the yellowishness of the hair. So that's just me personally. Streaky, dirty blonde, Al Davis says. Oh, I bet she's dirty. Yeah, but only Freddie Prinze Jr. knows for sure. But yeah, she probably would have been a good Black Canary. She's maybe a little petite. Like she seems to me like she's a petite lady, but I think it still would have worked. I think of Black Canary as being a bit taller and more statuesque. Like I said, they used the same buck that they used for Power Girl and Wonder Woman pretty much, but yeah, that's kind of how I see the character anyway. But I would not complain about Sarah Michelle Gellar. I wouldn't be the guy. Oh, she's too short. I would not be that guy. she would have been good. She would have been good. But yeah, like I said, my model for Black Canary was kind of always peak Debbie Harry. But remember, I was reading these comics like in the late 70s and early 80s, and Blondie was like a very popular band at that time. So you can see how I might look at her and be like, yeah, that's what Black Canary probably looks like in real life. Anyway, that's it for... before... It's not an Oracle figure, but we'll go ahead and get a shot with my favorite Batgirl action figure. We can get a shot of... there's your Birds of Prey shot right there. How about that? All right, I think that's everything I have to say about this figure. I hope that you enjoyed this review and found it informative. And if you did, please make sure that you give it a like and a subscribe and all that fun YouTube stuff below. YouTube likes it when I say like and subscribe, so I like to say like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I like it when you leave comments. And let me know what you think about this Black Canary figure. I'll be back at some point, not tomorrow, because I'm probably like almost 90% going to go over to visit my mother tomorrow and try to work some more on that garage, cleaning out that garage for her. So I'm probably going to be doing that tomorrow rather than opening up an action figure. But next episode, I'll be back with something else. And I haven't really decided what I'm going to open yet, but I know I've got some more DC stuff to open. I got some more chats that I missed. We'll go through those real quick. Al Davis says smirks can be definitely become smug, shitty, turdy. Yeah, maybe that's what's bothering me. I don't know. And curses Freddie Prinze Jr. So, but yeah, I think that's it for this episode. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next episode. I know I got some more DC stuff to open up. So I know I've got a Guardian. I know I've got a couple of Joker figures because I got this guy I can open up. I don't think I'm going to open him up, though, because nobody said that they want me to open him up. So he's probably not going to get opened as a video. I might do a short talking about him. Maybe. I don't know. And then I've got other stuff that I could be opening for DC. I've got stuff that I could be opening for Marvel. We're probably going to have like a big chunk of me opening some Marvel stuff. And you don't see me open that much Marvel stuff here on the channel. So that should be a treat, shouldn't it? And then, of course, I've got more Masters of the Universe stuff. I've got more of the 2000X cartoon collection that I'm chomping at the bit to open, but I kind of want to open all those like back to back to back. And I'm not sure how many back to back to back episodes I'm going to be having here lately. And I've got some Masters of the Universe like stuff that I'm going to be opening up. Oh, Bobby Wald is here. I guess it's a good thing the episode did run long, because otherwise I would have missed Bobby Wald. Bobby Wald says, did you see the figures Larry Hama is doing with Big Bad Workshop? Yes, I did, and I'm super excited about those. So for those of you who don't know what Bobby is talking about, Big Bad Workshop is doing Fury Force figures. And for those of you who don't know what Fury Force is, Fury Force was a pitch that Larry Hama had created for originally it was going to be a Marvel comic. He wanted it to be a Marvel comic, pitched to Marvel. And it was indeed going to be tied in with Nick Fury, the leader of the Fury Force, was going to be the son of Nick Fury. So it was going to be kind of like an 80s type update, maybe 70s, 80s, around there. It was going to be kind of an update on the Howling Commandos. So he'd created like a whole new cast of characters, and I guess Marvel decided not to accept the pitch. Comic never came to fruition. So when he got assigned to do this little toy comic, this G.I. Joe thing, he kind of dusted off his Fury Force proposal, and I used some elements from that. Used a lot of elements from that. So basically, you're going to have the prototype versions of a lot of familiar G.I. Joe characters, and even if you're not familiar with the original Fury Force pitch, you take a look at the figures. I'm sure you can figure out who some of these big characters were wound up being in G.I. Joe. You're going to look through there and be like, oh, there's the Vietnam era Tommy Arashikage. Nobody can pronounce that last name. Arashikage. You're gonna see, oh, this guy with snake eyes. Oh, this guy with Stalker. Well, this is a girl. That's probably Scarlet. Or the Canadian guy. Like Guardian from the Death of, who worked at Cat. Yeah. Guardian. The Al Davis asked which Guardian I'm talking about. Yeah, it's the blue and gold Guardian, the Jack Kirby Guardian, the Project Cadmus Guardian, that Guardian. The Canadian guy is a Marvel character. So did he wear his grandfather's eye patch passed down generation to... No, he didn't have an eye patch. Captain Arthur America, Anthony, man. No Captain America in there. but yeah, so you can see all these other like kind of like the GI Joe characters before they became the GI Joe characters, and I think that's really interesting. Especially to me, the one I'm actually most excited about is Louie because I saw him and I'm like, there's my Vietnam Tommy right there. I was gonna make a custom figure of Thomas Arashikage when he was in Vietnam, and now I don't have to because Big Bad Toy Shop is making one for me. Kyrus is here. Kyrus is here at the very end. Kyrus and Bobby Wald showing up at the very end. Al Davis says gender swap Captain America. There's no Captain America. He wasn't in the Howling Commandos in the comics at that time. That's an MCU thing. but yeah, I can even make my Vietnam Stalker if I wanted to swap around some pieces, like the proto Stalker character in there has a boonie hat, but I'm sure I could take the beret off of the he's not called Nick Fury Jr. in this version, obviously, but I could take the beret that came with that figure and put that one onto the proto Stalker figure. What was that character's name? I don't remember. Blake P. There's no actual Marvel characters in it, Al. When I say they created characters to be this new Fury Force, which was, like I said, it was kind of like an update of the concept of the Howling Command. It wasn't even called Howling Commandos. It was called Fury Force. But yeah, he did kind of recycle a lot of these concepts into what would later become the GI Joe characters. So yeah, and then there's just some cool, unique looking characters that because when he didn't design the visuals of the characters, I mean, that was Ron Rudat, who worked for Hasbro and designed them. They came into Marvel with the designs already set, but the designs were for characters with names like Machine Gunner and Bazooka Soldier and Commando and Girl. They didn't even have a job for her yet. She was just the girl. At some point, she became counterintelligence. But that's why, if you look at the original G.I. Joe action figure packages, and it was this way for like the first 3 years of the line, I think. I think until 86. I think 86 was the first one where they switched them. The specialty of the soldier was the main name on the package, and their code name was kind of underneath it, because that was how originally it was kind of like Hasbro was basically doing like upscaled versions of Green Army men for that first wave. That's why you have the Bazooka Soldier. That's why you have the Radio Man. That's why you have the Machine Gunner, because these are things that you would have when you bought the bag of little green soldiers. So the package wouldn't say Rock and Roll Machine Gunner. It would say Machine Gunner, codename Rock and Roll. Because to Hasbro, these were kind of like, the code names were like a secondary thing, and the main selling point was this guy's a machine gunner. And Larry had to give them names, like code names, so they could have something to call each other, and they weren't just calling each other, "Hey, Machine Gunner, get down there and back up Bazooka Soldier." That way it's like, hey, Rock and Roll, get down there and cover Zap. It works a lot better. But Fury Force had the original designs that Larry actually worked up for these characters, and as Bobby Wald already mentioned way up there in the chat, and I didn't get a chance to acknowledge it, like Snake Eyes is not like the guy in all black like you think of him. Instead, I don't remember what he's called in this new line of figures. In the original Fury Force pitch, he's called Spook. And I guess there's reasons that they didn't want to call an action figure Spook in the 21st century. We won't get into all that right now, but they changed it. I think Revenant, was that his name? Revenant? And Linko Mendoez? I don't know, man. Bobby Wald says, I'm looking forward to seeing what Lenny, Tony, and Corey does with Boss Fight Studios. They said something about soldiers across time and space. Ooh, that does sound interesting, doesn't it? I bet they're going to do some crazy stuff. I hope they do some really cool stuff. I bet it's going to be cool. Fury Force is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, the original, the character that eventually became Snake Eyes was originally called Spook, and this design is being labeled as Revenant in the new Fury Force line, and it's a little closer to like the Unknown Soldier. I always figured the Unknown Soldier was a really big influence on Snake Eyes in a lot of ways, and if you look at the original design that Larry came up with for him, he's very Unknown Soldier with he's all in the bandages, and but yeah, his original design is he was all bandaged up and wearing a poncho. And like I said, Larry didn't design any of the G.I. Joe characters. That was all Ron Rudat. So Ron Rudat designed a masked commando character, and to keep the budget down on the overall line, to make sure they had, I think they wanted to make sure they had money for the paint apps for Stalker. It was decided to take paint apps away from another figure, and obviously the one you're going to pick is the guy wearing the mask. So I guess to make it look a little better than just like a plain olive drab green character with no paint apps whatsoever, make him a black costumed character in all black. And that's how legends are born a lot of the times. It's completely by accident. Like the Lone Ranger script that I'm working on right now, I keep stumbling onto things where I'm like, ooh, I can do this, I can do that. Like, it's always part of the Lone Ranger's origin that there's the massacre at Bryant's Gap, and the Lone Ranger is like the one man who's left alive, barely alive, and Tonto happens upon him and nurses him back to health. And it turns out Tonto was the Lone Ranger's childhood friend from many years ago. Why did Tonto happen to run across him in this canyon after this ambush? So I explained that. I have an explanation for that in the script. I just hit upon it. Oh, duh! It's obvious. It's obvious why he ran across the Lone Ranger and nursed him back to health. It wasn't an accident. He was looking for John Reed. Why was he looking for John Reed? I don't really want to get into that right now. But there's a reason. There's a reason. You wind up looking at things. Like other versions of it would try to give the Lone Ranger an influence, like a love interest. And I'm like, the Lone Ranger isn't really a character that's built for a love interest, but how do you make that work? So I think I cracked that nut. I think I figured out a way to, I've created a character that functions as a potential love interest for the Lone Ranger. And I think it works really well. I think she's going to be great. And that's like seriously, I'm at the point writing this character where like I'm worried the show's going to turn into like the adventures of Linda Carpenter, frontier reporter, and her eccentric masked friend. I really don't want to. Al Davis says Zorro gets the girl instead. Hell yeah, he does. Zorro's a playa. The Lone Ranger might not be a character that's necessarily built for romance, but Zorro certainly was. If you read the original Johnston McCulley Zorro novel, yes, it's an action adventure story, but it's just as much of a romance novel in a lot of ways. It's a really good read. It's a great read. If you haven't read the original Mark of Zorro by Johnston McCulley, I highly recommend it. And Kyrus says, I'm really excited for the Crucible Death Dealer. Been waiting a whole year. I'm a big fan of Death Dealer, so I'm excited about that. So anyway, I guess that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Black Canary. like I said, I know a lot of people were really critical of this figure, but I'm actually pretty happy with how she turned out. There are some nitpicks that I have and some tweaks that I would make if I was armchair quarterbacking the figure, but yeah, I think for the most part, I'm really happy with this figure. I'm glad, always glad to see Al Davis, always glad to see TMNT, always glad to see Bobby Walden, Kyrus, even though they just showed up at the tail end. Sorry, you guys showed up at the tail end. I would have liked to have you guys around for more of the chat, but that's the way life works sometimes, I guess. Al Davis says, and you can turn her into custom bookers too. I'm going to assume that's a typo or an autocorrect. I think you were trying to write a word other than bookers, and you don't really have to do much customizing for that, do we? To be honest, yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, we'll talk to you next time. Bye.